What if I told you there was an extraction shooter that sits perfectly in between Arena Breakout Infinite and Tarkov? A game that's immersive without being overwhelming, tactical without being frustrating, and one that actually made me want to keep playing when Tarkov didn't. I've played all three, and after recently getting involved with Gray Zone Warfare, I think I finally understand who this game is for. If Tarkov just isn't for you, then Gray Zone Warfare just might be. And here's why. Now, before the Tarkov veterans sharpen their virtual pitchforks, hear me out. I own and play all three major extraction shooters: Escape From Tarkov, Gray Zone Warfare, and Arena Breakout Infinite. And if I had to rank them just based on the demand that the game has, I'd put Arena Breakout Infinite at bronze, I'll put Gray Zone Warfare at silver, and I'll put Tarkov at gold. When it comes to complexity, Tarkov is still the king. It's deeper, it's more hardcore, and it has a lot more demand. But being the hardest game doesn't automatically make it the best game for everyone. And that's where Gray Zone Warfare comes in. Because I think Gray Zone Warfare is the game for people who wanted to like Tarkov, but just couldn't stick with it. The first thing that pulls me towards Gray Zone Warfare is the visuals. I know some people love Tarkov's gritty and washed out aesthetics, but to me it's starting to feel a little dated. Gray Zone feels a lot more modern. The lighting looks better, the environments feel more alive, the colors pop without looking cartoonish, everything just feels more current. When I load into Gray Zone Warfare, I really feel like I'm playing a game that's built for today. When I load into Tarkov, I'm sorry to say that the visuals just do not look up to par. I guess you can say the game is really showing its age through its visuals. And to be completely honest, that's not really a knock on Tarkov. It could be exactly what they were going for. However, this is just one of the reasons why Gray Zone feels a little bit more fresher to me. But the graphics, they aren't even the biggest reason. It's the immersion. When I'm moving through the jungles of Lamang or Lamang, however you say it, I really feel the environment that's around me. The dense vegetation and the sounds and the long walks through the terrain, it really feels believable. All those things come together to create a perfect environment. In Tarkov, I'm usually thinking about loot routes and extractions and whether someone is about to tap me or jump out of a bush. In Gray Zone Warfare, there are some times that I feel the same, but most of the time, I feel like I'm actually operating in a living world. And to me, that makes a huge difference. What Gray Zone really excels at is finding the middle ground. It's accessible, it's polished, and it does a really good job of onboarding players. Tarkov, it sits on the completely opposite side of the spectrum. The learning curve in that game is very, very brutal, and the systems are complex. And to be completely honest, that game can be incredibly punishing. Gray Zone Warfare sits somewhere in the middle ground, in that sweet spot. It doesn't hold your hand like ABI, but it doesn't feel like it's constantly trying to kick you in your teeth either, which is what you're gonna get from Tarkov. Don't get me wrong, there's still tension, there's a lot of risk, and you still have something to lose. But it feels more approachable, and for a lot of players, that's exactly what they're looking for. Another thing that doesn't get talked about enough is the UI. Gray Zone Warfare interface just feels modern. It's cleaner and it's easier to navigate. The inventory management feels smoother, the information is presented in a way that is easy to understand. It's one of those little quality of life things that you don't really think about until you switch between games and realize just how much time you are spending staring at the menus. And speaking of immersion, there's another feature that I absolutely love: the helicopter infiltration and extraction system. Most extraction shooters have you standing in a designated extraction zone while a timer counts down, and then poof, you're gone. Gray Zone Warfare handles that completely different. When you want to deploy, you call in a helicopter, you hear it coming, you see it fly overhead, and you watch it land. Then you have about 30 seconds to board and fly to your destination, and if you take too long, it will leave you. Then when you're ready to come back to base, you have to do the same thing all over again. Now that might be a small detail on paper, but in practice, that completely changes how the game feels. Instead of just loading into the next match, it feels like you're being inserted into an operation. The helicopter isn't just transportation, it's part of the experience. And honestly, off the top of my head, I can't think of another extraction shooter that does it quite like Gray Zone Warfare. The next area where Gray Zone Warfare stands out for me is PvE. Don't get me wrong, I love PvP just as much as the next guy, but whenever you get into this game and you want to learn it, the best route is to go PvE, because there are some sweats out there in the jungle and you do not want to be caught in the middle of that. Yes, all three games have PvE options now, but Gray Zone's PvE feels the closest to actual PvP. The AI can be dangerous. You still have to clear buildings carefully, because if not, it will cost you. You still have to think about positioning, because if not, it will cost you. You still have to respect all enemy contact, because guess what? it will cost you. It's not perfect, but it creates these situations that feel much closer to fighting players than what I've experienced in the other PvE modes. And for those of us who enjoy the tactical gameplay without needing every encounter to become a sweat competition, it's a really nice balance. Now, I could keep talking about why Gray Zone Warfare works for me, but honestly, I think this next mission explains it better than I ever could. Recently, I got sent out to investigate a downed helicopter somewhere in the deep jungle. The objective sounds simple enough: just find the crash site, locate the missing cargo, and make it back alive. But this mission ended up reminding me exactly why Gray Zone Warfare clicked with me whenever Tarkov never fully did.
Raven dispatched, moving to base camp. Raven on station, ready to pick you up. Get ready, we're moving out.
The one thing I love instantly about Gray Zone Warfare is right here. Instead of magically spawning into a raid, I'm actually been flown into the AO. Watching the jungle pass below while heading towards the objective just makes everything feel more believable. It feels less like a match and more like an operation.
Getting close. 30 seconds.
Once I got on the ground, the search began. I roughly knew where the helicopter was supposed to be, but I still needed to navigate there myself. This is one of the moments where Gray Zone Warfare really hits the sweet spot for me. I'm not completely lost, but the game isn't throwing up a smoke signal telling me exactly where to go to either. As I'm moving through the jungle, this is where the immersion really kicks in. The terrain, the sound, and the dense vegetation, everything works together to make the world feel more believable. It's one of the reasons why I keep finding myself coming back to this game. And there it is, first visual on the crash. Honestly, seeing it in a swamp like that was pretty cool. This is the kind of thing that I enjoy in Gray Zone Warfare. You're not sprinting from firefight to firefight, you're actually discovering the things as you move through the world. Before getting too comfortable, I want to make sure the area was clear. The last thing I wanted was to find an objective and then get dropped on by an AI I never saw coming. One thing you will learn very quick is to slow down and pay attention. Now that I finally located a helicopter, it's time for me to finally find what I actually came for, the cargo, which was an adventure in itself because it turned out to be exactly at the location that I had just came from. But I can't complain because this is the kind of mission design that I really enjoy. It gets me moving through the environment and paying attention instead of just chasing markers. Now that I have the cargo secured, the mission is basically over, but I have one last thing. I have to get out alive. One of the mechanics in the game that would teach you to slow down and pace yourself is weapon sway. The game does a fantastic job in making you manage your energy and making sure you have the strength in your arm to actually aim down sight and hit an accurate shot. So for those of you that's gonna say my aim sucked, we're just gonna chop it up to my person not being strong enough and not having the durability just yet. You try venturing through the jungle through the night and then engaging with enemies and tell me just how much energy you have left to hold up your firearm. This can be annoying in the moment, but I think it's a clever way to put a little bit of the real world into the game.
Raven dispatched. Moving to Delta 1. Raven arriving shortly near your position. ETA 30 seconds.
And once again, this is where Gray Zone Warfare separates itself from me. Instead of running into a magic extraction box, I'm calling in a helicopter. I almost feel like I'm actually getting on that helicopter. I hear it coming, I watch it land, and then I hop on. Next thing you know, daddy's home. I know this seems like a simple feature, but it adds so much immersion. And honestly, this mission is a perfect example of why Gray Zone Warfare clicked with me. Not because it's harder than Tarkov, not because it's easier than Tarkov, but because it's comfortably in the middle, it's immersive, it's approachable, and it's still tactical. And for the players who wanted to love Tarkov but never quite connected the dots, Gray Zone Warfare might be exactly what you're looking for.